Listening to podcasts is no replacement for real training. While we attempt to provide accurate commentary, we hold no responsibility on how you use the information we provide. Get medical training. In the blink of an eye, everyday order can be replaced with once-in-a-lifetime chaos. Be prepared. This is the Civilian Medical Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Civilian Medical Podcast. Sean just totally dumped this on me because I did the intro the last time, and you're supposed to do the intro this time, and he's like pointing at the camera like, no. So I guess I lost.
Yep. Yeah, I was like, it's a challenge of who can wait the longest, and I won.
I should have just waited that awkward silence.
I know.
Just sit there
I
like,
thought you were going to. I was just getting ready to open my mouth when you jumped in. So in the game,
should have made our guest do it. Like he would just been sitting there going like, what are these guys doing?
These guys are the dumbest ever. Who is our guest?
It's some shady medic out there in Colorado. Like he's super shady. But he seems to be some kind of shogun medic, and I don't know. So
Shogun samurai.
Yeah, like we were pretty desperate for guests. So we're like, hey, Sam, do you mind coming on? And he jumped at the opportunity to come.
And you may recognize him from YouTube and other great stuff like that. PrepMedic, Sam, what's up, buddy?
How's it going, guys?
We're glad to have you here. So I hear that you guys have like a little rift on social media. Like you guys want to talk about that a little bit? And I don't know, just talk about how you guys have hurt each other and where on the doll the other person hurt you. I think if we did that, it would be great.
I think it's completely unprovoked. I don't think I started this one. I think this is all Skinny Medic there. But I was minding my own business, and I'm just popular, I guess. And, and then all of a sudden I'm getting all these hate. Skinny Medic does this video against me, coming out, beating up on me. And then now I'm hearing that there's a lot of beating up going on your podcast. So I figured I had to come on and defend myself a little bit.
Skinny Medic, would you like to speak to the people about why you're doing this to Sam, who has done nothing to you?
Yes, this is complete bullcrap. I don't know anything he's talking about. So what happened was I've been on YouTube for a while, like the very beginning of YouTube. Like we were still like using like old phones. Like there was like 3 people on YouTube when I started, and I just been plugging along all these years, like so slow and steady, just growing my channel, growing my audience. And this young gun comes up, and all of a sudden he's like 20,000 subscribers, 30, 40, 50, 60. And I'm like, holy crap, who is this dude? And people are asking, like, have you heard of PrepMedic? And I'm like, no, never heard of her. And all of a sudden he sends me a message that says, I'm going to win the war. I'm like, what are you talking about, war? And he's like, I'm going to beat you to 100,000 subscribers, and I'm going to get my plaque first. And I was like, what the? And so all of a sudden he beats me, gets to 100,000 first, and then he passes me. Now he's like, what, 200 and something? Like, I don't even know the exact number, but I think it's all fake. It's fake news. There's no way he could do this. And it's just his show. I mean, who really puts that much time and effort into editing videos for medical stuff? I mean, he's got like the great camera. His lighting is perfect. Like I'm on this show, my lighting's terrible. I got like a halo above my head.
Yeah.
He puts a ton of effort into his videos, and like I just want to tell him, this is YouTube. No one cares.
I mean, at least 215,000 people care.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Did you how many of those are you paying? Like, did you just pay them to subscribe?
I
work in EMS. I don't have money to pay people to subscribe to me.
That's a fair point.
True story.
It's a fair point. So Sam, tell us a little bit about yourself. Clearly Dietrich is jealous, and like, I don't know, feelings are hurt, things like that. We'll get through it. And the way we get through all things is really education. So tell us why those 215,000 people love you. Like, what do you do for a living?
Well, I'm a paramedic up in Northern Colorado. Been in EMS for about 8 years or so, and kind of climbed through that realm a little bit. Been on the street for a long time, did the education realm, started the YouTube, I don't know, 3 years ago now, I think, or 2.5 years ago. And yeah, now starting the critical care realm up here. So just kind of started the YouTube kind of on a whim, randomly. Really don't put as much thought into it as Dietrich seems to think, but you know, whatever he wants to believe, that it's all my effort getting those subscribers, not just my, you know, winning personality. But try to do a lot of, you know, EMS education videos, do a lot of trauma stuff, and so on and so forth.
That's cool, man.
You had a YouTube channel before that, right? Didn't you have something? Or am I making that up? Like,
you know, you're making that up.
You didn't have an outdoor channel, like an outdoor like skiing thing? Am I completely making that up?
Nope, you're hallucinating.
My bad. I'm just getting old. I swear I thought you had like a YouTube channel before this.
Skinny Medic, I think I've discovered why people like him more, because he's not insane. he's not like Joe Biden. I
just started making stuff up, I guess.
Yeah, riddled with dementia.
Maybe. I'm getting old. I guess that's it. My bad. I'll sit over in the corner. You guys talk.
No, that's perfect. You came to Colorado, but you were already doing EMS before that, right?
Yeah. I spent about 6 or 7 years in Central Iowa, working for a ground 911 service there, and then was doing the reserve deputy thing, and was a SWAT medic on with Story County for about 3 years with them. So I have a little bit of experience in that realm. That's kind of where I got my start, and then moved out to Colorado with my wife. This is where she's from, and she's doing her residency out here. So a little bit of experience, but definitely a different ball game on the Front Range.
Yeah, definitely, man. So what are you doing now? Sounds actually kind of cool.
Yeah, so just started, you know, just got through all my classroom and my rotation stuff for a flight service up here in Northern Colorado. So started doing that, and like this was my third shift now with them. So very, very new in that regard.
Do you like, how's the flights out there? Is it like a long flight? Or are you doing like 5-minute flights, 10-minute flights, 20-minute flights? Like, how long are your average flight times?
You know, it completely varies, and we do both ground CCT and flight. So for anybody that doesn't know, CCT is critical care transport, and it basically is just taking kind of that 911 to the next step and doing a lot of more ICU as opposed to emergency medicine. So flight times vary, you know, anywhere between, I think we go out a radius of like 150 miles maximum. But so that flight time can range from an hour or two to all the way down to 4 minutes. But, you know, scene times, the times you're spending just packaging patients up is a lot longer. You know, you've got patients on, you know, a bunch of drips, 8 or 9 drips. You're giving a lot more meds. You've got ventilators and a bunch of more tube management of any kind. So we were on one the other day that the whole call took about 4 hours, I think, which is pretty unheard of for a 911 EMS system, at least on grounds.
That's weird. Like for me, thinking about my area, we have 3 helicopters all within the upstate of South Carolina. So like their flight times are 10, 15, 20-minute flight times to be anywhere fast. So because there's a different area.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's a huge difference in EMS between East Coast and inland. You know, I think East Coast kind of does things their own way. And while EMS is the same job, no matter where you go in the country, I find, you know, it changes every time I move states or something. There's different lingo. There's a little bit of a different way of doing things. People have a different outlook. So it's kind of interesting to get that varying perspective on it.
Sam, what brought you to medical stuff? Did you just wake up one day and be like, you know what? I really just want to give people methadone.
Yes. You know, it was mainly out of a desire to fuel people's drug habits. That was about why I got started. No, you know, mainly it came out of the inability to do anything else. I was not the smartest kid in high school. You know, I just didn't feel like things applied that well, and I wasn't able to really put effort into things I didn't think or didn't think mattered to me. So through that, I started doing ski patrol because I love skiing and I wanted a free ski pass. So went through the little outdoor emergency care class and found like everything that was being taught was super applicable. It wasn't just at work. It was, I could take that home and it was a useful skill. I could feel accomplished about it. And, have a ton of fun doing it. So took the next step. We had a lot of great mentors through that were firefighter paramedics, some flight medics in that, and got me started in the paramedic field. And then kind of from the time I was 17 to now, it's kind of all I've really known is EMS and public safety.
Do you get mad if someone calls you an ambulance driver?
I think I used to. When I came out of paramedic school, I think all paramedics kind of have this like spike of ego when they first come out of school, and they think they're kind of hot shit. So I had that ego. I felt like nobody understood the profession and all of that stuff. So I'd get really mad. Somebody would call me an ambulance driver. I'd get all up in arms. And I think the more I've been doing it, the less and less I care about what the other perspectives are about it. And then, I think YouTube channels and social media and more people being vocal about EMS, especially in present times where there's a lot of attention on healthcare workers and emergency healthcare workers, I think it's getting better, but doesn't really bother me anymore.
Makes sense.
So are you a first responder or a healthcare professional?
Oh, interesting.
That literally just popped in my head, and I was like, "That's a good one. I'm going to ask that."
I think there's a divergence right now within the profession. I think you have half, the paramedic community is wanting to either define EMS more like police or more like fire departments. And then I think there's a kind of this new age push that instead of looking at these other public safety entities to try to model ourselves after, because we're kind of the new kids on the block, they're going to more of a nursing. They're looking at more as a nursing profession in the sense that it's, a healthcare professional as opposed to strictly a first responder. So, I think that comes with the increased scope of practice of paramedics. We're becoming more professionalized as an industry and have much higher standards of care. The scope of practice of paramedics is actually insane if you really look at it. And we're doing things that ground level nursing isn't doing, that really you get into the mid-level provider and higher.
Sorry, give me one sec. I have no idea where that's coming from. Okay, we're all better now. Sorry. I'll cut that out. 1310. Okay, sorry guys. So you're talking about like scope, doing way more.
Yeah, the scope of paramedics is just really astounding. And I think it's something that's not well understood in the general community of, we're taking 12 lead EKGs and we're taking a look at the heart, and we can make, we wouldn't say official diagnoses, but you're looking at those patterns and you're making clinical decisions of where that patient goes. They're not even going to the ER if they have signs of a STEMI, an ST elevation myocardial infarction or a heart attack. You're going straight to the cath lab. You're calling stroke alerts, you're going straight to CT, you're calling trauma alerts, you're going straight to the OR. And you're making these decisions as a healthcare provider with very limited tools in the field. And then, advanced airways and a pretty large pharmacology. So, we're going away from this volunteer kind of mindset of, Billy Bob gets up in the morning and, goes about his work, gets a page, goes to one car wreck for the day, holds C-spine, takes somebody to the hospital to, a practitioner, somebody that's making really high level decisions. So I think we're going more in the way of nursing as opposed to public safety. And I think there's more viability for the profession in that direction.
Now, having said that, though, you've been doing some of the more high speed stuff. You SWAT medic, flight medic, like all kinds of stuff like that. Are you an adrenaline junkie in general, or you just, that's kind of where it's gone?
I think it's kind of just where it's gone. I'm fine with boring days, to tell you the truth. I don't need that anymore. I think for me, it's more about, improving myself and improving my abilities as a provider. And, if you're always kind of looking at that, those programs and those opportunities kind of open themselves up to you a little bit more. I think there's a lot of people that get into EMS and they look at, a flight medic position. They're like, that's my only goal. I'm going to be a flight medic. I want to be a flight medic. And they don't care about the steps to get there. They don't care. They're like, well, I'm going to be a flight medic, so I don't need to be a good EMT basic. I'm going to be a flight medic. I don't need to be a good ground IFT paramedic. I think you have to take some more ownership of each level on the way, and things kind of happen for you. I wasn't just reaching for flight medic. I really loved being a ground 911 paramedic and doing all of that stuff. So like if flight medic went away tomorrow, if the SWAT medic went away tomorrow, like I'd be happy running 911s on the ground too.
I think, yeah.
For me, like I feel like I was like EMS, like I'm a junkie for EMS. I still love EMS. Now I'm on the education side and more the admin side, but like I still am a paramedic to the core. Like when people ask me what I do for a living, I generally don't say I'm a business owner, I'm a YouTuber or whatever. I'm a paramedic. And like I love it. Like but very few people now like love EMS and like love being a paramedic. They're all like, oh, well, I'm going to go be a nurse. I'm going to go be a PA. I'm going to go do this. And they use EMS as a stepping stone to get somewhere else. And like, there's very few guys who just absolutely say, I love being a paramedic.
Yeah. And I think that's a growing problem. I get the comments that are bothering me more and more on my YouTube are these salty people coming on and trying to, they come on and they come on that video I'm doing about, pay for EMS or like, this is how you make a living or these are some educational opportunities. And they've just had this bad experience. They've never reached for anything. They've never, tried to fix their bad situation. Maybe they have, and it just didn't work. Maybe I'm selling them short, but they come on, they're like, nobody should go into EMS. It's a wasted profession. I hate this. Everything sucks. My life sucks. And I think there's a lack of responsibility there for their own fate. But you have the salty meme pages, which are funny if you're because you can relate to them, but at the same time, people take them seriously, and it just breeds this toxic mentality. And then we've got the stepping stone effect. So you get new people in the profession. So nobody really drives it forward. And I think we're overcoming it. I think we've got a long ways to go though. And I think there's, some pay, some respect, better educational standards, more standardization across the nation and stuff. But, we're new. We're the new kids on the block, as opposed to being around for a couple hundred years like police and fire, or nursing. We've been around about 40 to 50 years. And that's it.
Yeah. It's funny. Like I see those comments as well. And honestly, coming through my classes, the amount of people that were like, yeah, I took the EMT basic back in the day, but never did anything with it. Like it's staggering. Almost at least one person every class has taken EMT and never decided to go forward into it. But it's kind of like, I don't know. Would you guys say it's a bit of a calling? Like, cause I mean, clearly starting out, you're not making a ton of money. Yeah, it's a living, but you're not, I don't know, eating caviar for dinner or anything like that. Would you say it's a passion? Sam, I'll start with you, and then Dietrich, you can follow up after he's done.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a passion. But I think that's two-sided. So, I don't think there's anything wrong with using it as a stepping stone. My wife was one of those. She got her EMT basic like solely so she could get clinical hours to get into medical school. And I think it was great because, now she has a perspective of EMS that she wouldn't have had either. And that's the great thing about EMT. I think there is passion in it, but I also think that you just have to come into it with a professional mindset. I think people come into it and the superficial passion for it is the high speed stuff, is the massive traumas and, the SWAT medicine. But when they have to do a dialysis transfer or they have to do, that BLS run or, that frequent flyer, the passion, if you're really passionate about it, your passion should kind of extend to that realm. Not as much, there's stuff you don't like, but, if you're really passionate about it, that's something that you kind of have to take the experience of it. Like, hey, that dialysis transfer is a World War II vet. You can go talk to him and learn some really cool things. So I kind of got a little bit on a tangent with that. I think it is a passion, but I think that's very superficial in a lot of people that come into it.
Yeah. Dietrich?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I mean, I think it's a calling. I think it's a calling. I feel like I was kind of the same process as Sam. Like in high school, like if I didn't think it was interesting, I didn't apply myself. I wasn't say I was a dumb student, but like I just didn't apply myself. And I'm like going back, I feel like I should have applied myself because like I'm not gonna need this math. This is bull crap. And now I'm like, oh crap. Or writing a paper. Like I don't even know how to write complete sentences. Like that's stupid. And now I'm like, oh gosh, all I do is write reports and do math all day now. So I definitely feel like it's a calling. I got out of EMS or I got out of high school and knew I definitely wanted to go into EMS was my first thing I wanted to do. And I still love it, even though now I'm more on the admin education side. I love seeing those EMT basics that I've taught and like seeing the light bulb go off. Like, hey, you've been teaching, and all of a sudden click, they get it. Or, you hear about the bad call and you're like, oh man, it's one of my students on that call. Hope things go well. And then I read the report and I'm like, holy crap, that student did a great job. Like, that's awesome. Like, so I like seeing that side of things now of, that I've been able to share my knowledge and help some people along the way. And to see those kids do good things now, I'm like, that's it. Like, that's what my moments are now. And like I got into EMS thinking I wanted to be a SWAT medic. I wanted to go fly in a helicopter, kind of same things that Sam was saying. And then like, all right, now I'm old, I'm tired. And I'm like, I just want to go talk to World War II vet. Like you can learn some good stuff. And I always tell my EMT students, I'm like, your patients are sicker than you think they are. So even that repetitive patient, the dialysis patient, they're super sick. We just don't pay attention to it to find it. And so talking to them and getting your patient assessments down, things like that, that's a great opportunity. And yeah, I'm fine drinking coffee, sitting around the bay talking now. Like I don't have to go run the super cool calls.
Yeah, definitely. Sam, you touched on something that I think is very interesting, and you mentioned some of the comments online and stuff like that. And it's the same in my field, firearms, as it is really in medical stuff as well. I see the same people saying the same things. There's a lot of Dunning-Kruger going around out there, and people the comments are like cancer generally, especially on YouTube. How do you deal with people like that in the comments?
Well, first, I owe the people that comment on my videos an apology because I get a ton of positive comments. A ton of people that are like, oh, thank you, or I love this. This was great. You opened my eyes to EMS, things like that. And those are great. And like, I genuinely appreciate them. But then the one cancer comment, that's the one I'm like on the keyboard. I don't respond to all these positive ones. And there's a cancer comment and I'm right on the keyboard, like, you're wrong. You're so stupid, whatever. So I feel bad because I definitely, pay more attention to those negative comments. As far as, that goes, I think just people get a lot braver on a keyboard, and I think it's really easy to be sitting in your home, passing judgment on stuff or having a bad attitude and just having a bad day. Probably not even bad people. They're just, had a bad day, need to vent, see a dork on the internet, making videos, and they're like, oh, that's not what I learned. And I've got a friend, things like that. So I try not to take it too personally. That being said, I need to very closely regiment when I look at my comments. If I'm doing it right before I go to bed and I start scrolling through comments, it sounds, I sound like I feel like I sound like such a wuss with it of like, hey, you hurt my feelings. But, like I'm passionate about it. It just makes me mad. And, those comments in it, I feel like it's built over time as my channel's grown. And I don't know, Dietrich, if you've had the same, experience, but, I actually care what people think, I care about that. So yeah, it can be tough.
Have you banned anybody yet off your channel?
I told myself I would never do that. I've done it twice because people were doxing me. And there was this one guy recently that he was one of those toxic people that came on and he was like, EMS screwed my life up. Like EMS is what's wrong with my entire world. And he's still a paramedic and he's going off. And I kind of commented, I was like, man, like if you hate it, that's fine, man. It's not, it's not slavery. Nobody's forcing you to do this. You can go do something else. And he was commenting how he's making minimum wage, could make more money flipping burgers. I'm like, great, go flip burgers.
Yeah.
If you can make this much more money doing something else. And he came back, he's like, well, my pension, like it's a good pension and it keeps me here. I think he's in Illinois. And I was like, well, like, then you've clearly, weighed that yourself and you've determined that this is something you want to do. So stop bitching and moaning about it, So I called him on that. And then like, I went to bed and I woke up and I had like 82 comments on every video of like everything from repeating what he just said to like, I'm going to kill your family.
Pretty quickly.
Yeah. And he like looked me up on LinkedIn and was trying to like, I don't know, call me on my experience or something, which was weird. So him and then another guy tried to dox me and was like, found the addresses of my mom and my brothers and found where my wife went to school in medical school and was like, I'm gonna come decapitate her and like do all this stuff to her. I was like, all right, well, that one I actually filed a police report on because
good.
Dang it.
Good Lord, man. People need to like take their meds a little bit more. But yeah, it's the know-it-alls online are kind of crazy. And it's even like I found in some people that I've taught, like I saw them just like randomly commenting on some other thread. And it kind of annoys me because I'm like, you teach the concepts so that they understand like the basics of things. And then they just, it's like in firearms, the 4 rules. Someone learns those 4 rules and man, they're experts on this. This is the thing that they know. They can recite them by heart and it is everything. Like God help anybody who puts their finger on the trigger when they're not ready to shoot. And like, I get it. Like safety is very, very important, but it's this thing that they're an expert in. So that's all they focus on. And they basically spend all of their time cruising so that they can correct people. And it was the same with someone who'd been through a bunch of my classes, just learning one thing, but not understanding the stuff behind it. And I called them out publicly and they got super mad about it and like, whatever. Dietrich, do you go after the people who leave just ridiculous comments on your videos?
I used to. Like I would go after them and it would piss me off. Kind of the same thing like Sam was talking about. Like I would skip over the good comments to go after the people who were coming after me. And now I just ignore them. I just let them go. And I feel like I've built enough of a following that most of the time if someone does that, then the people who are watching my video will comment on it anyway and they'll defend me. Like they'll go after that guy. So that's what I love now is the fact that I've got people who watch my videos that have my back and they're like, oh no, you're stupid. And they'll just lay into the people and they go away. But yeah, like I generally don't ban people. I banned a few people. If you say something about my wife or my kids, that's automatic ban. But yeah, I had the kind of same situation. I had a guy said I shouldn't have my kids on video because you never know when someone would show up to their front door and try to take them. And I was like, fair enough, let's do it. And so I sent the guy a message back and said, don't threaten me like that. And if you want to show up to my house, you're more than welcome to. You see what's on the videos, you're more than welcome to show up to my front door. And I called my sheriff and he was like, look, he's like, odds are the guy's probably across the country. He's not going to come on your front door to take your kids. He's like, but if he does, take care of the situation and call me. I'm like, okay. That.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. Like I engage everybody. I engage positive comments, but I especially engage negative comments because like, I don't know, I've been doing this a long time. So I'm like really good at making people feel bad about themselves. So I take every opportunity. Like I'll take my jacket off, put my baseball cap backwards, crack my knuckles. And that's what I'll do for 4 or 5 hours just because I don't know. I enjoy the witty repartee of YouTube commenters and just people in general, like that comment on Facebook and everything else. It goes like that.
Well, the rules of like firearms, I think there's an equivalent in EMS. You have the hot button topics that people just regurgitate.
Yeah.
It's like, hate on the rats. And I dislike the rats. I don't use the rats. I don't think it's a good device, but hating on the rats, whole blood, even though a lot of people have never even seen whole blood or have the ability to do, whole blood administration or are just, are in the civilian realm. And then like, don't put tampons in wounds, obviously. But like, I feel like people jump on those and then that's like, they're like, I'm a doctor now. Like I know stuff, like, and really, you know, that's tourniquet use and wound packing. Like there's such a small portion of pre-hospital medical care and first aid and, you know, paramedicine and anything, you know, they're so simple of concepts that I think people get so hung up on them, and they think like, because I took a Stop the Bleed course, I'm an expert. And then they jump down the throats of anybody that like, you know, does anything else or, you know, whatever. And instead of trying to educate, just try to shut people down and be that expert.
Yes.
I posted a picture on my Instagram of the Phantom fluid warmer because my service got 2 of them, and I was fired up about it. And people freaked out because we're not able to give whole blood yet. In the state of South Carolina, there's 2 pilot projects going on right now. One is like the neighboring EMS service, so we call them for whole blood. But I was like, guys, you're laying into my EMS service because we can't give whole blood, but the whole state can't give whole blood. But we're halfway there. I have the fluid warmer. It can deliver blood. So when we get there, I just need the cooler. Like I'm halfway there. And like people are laying into me on Instagram. And I'm like, come on, guys. Like I understand that saline is bad, but we're halfway there. Stop.
Yeah. And that's how most of the country is. You know, I've worked for now 3 different very high performing EMS agencies, very advanced EMS agencies. And I have not had whole blood until now on the helicopter, which is, I mean, it's relatively common for helicopters to have blood, but like I've never used blood products just because it's a nightmare. It's a political nightmare to try to cut through the red tape to get blood on ground units. And to be honest, the efficacy for blood on like 911 street ambulances, like you're not going to give it much. Like you need fly cars. Like you can't just put it on every ground truck because it would just go bad and we'd be wasting a scarce resource. So you need, you know, fly cars, you need, you know, how do you get it? How do you store it? You know, how do you type and screen it if it's not just your universal donors, you know, all of this stuff. So I think there's a lack of perspective there for sure.
I feel like a lot of guys are coming out of the military where things are done different. And like, oh, this is the way, this is a military way. And EMS is about 10 years behind on that. And so I think that's where people don't realize that we're not doing everything that the military is doing right now. Not yet.
I mean, they can do whatever they want. The military, nobody sues the military. You can't, like, a soldier doesn't have the right to sue the medic because the medic gave him a hemolytic reaction, infusing the wrong blood or doing a walking blood bank or whatever. Like, military is like, yeah, like if this, like, let's just freaking do it. Let's try to do it. You know, they type and screen every single one of their soldiers. They all know what they are. They can get the blood stores. They can do walking blood banks, you know, and at the end of the day, it's kind of a free for all. You know, you can see that with like 68 whiskeys where you have a base education of like the EMT basic level. And then they go overseas and they do more than that, but that's how it translates in the civilian world. They go overseas and, you know, the doc at whatever base they're at or whoever they're with is like, okay, like, great. Here's a huge pharmacology of drugs. Here's a scalpel in case you need to do a surgical cricothyrotomy. Here's how you do a chest tube. I'm comfortable with you doing all these crazy things, like sign off, you're good to go. And there's no liability. So it's just a different world, not better or worse. It just is.
Definitely.
Yep. So Dietrich tells some fun stories, like the time that he beat up an old man who was just having a diabetic episode. Any crazy stuff that's gone on that stands out in your mind?
Oh, you know, what's funny is that you do this long enough and stuff starts blending together for, you know, what's going on. I think, give me a second here while I put this out. I don't know, man. I'm drawing a blank on fun stories.
Yeah, I do imagine. I mean, you guys like do it when you do it every single day for a job, everything starts to kind of run together. But yeah, Dietrich, like he ends up doing some weird stuff. Because Dietrich, what do you specifically do? You're not like doing it like for your full-time job anymore, but you do it with search and rescue and all kinds of different stuff, right?
Yeah. So right now I do, I'm the team leader for our EMS special operations team. So we do search and rescue and we do SWAT. We support 3 different agencies for SWAT medics. So we do that. And then I'm also now the assistant training officer. So I help with training and help move that direction too. But So yeah, like anytime I get to go on a call, like it's gonna be a fun call, and that's what I usually tell people. I'm like, if it's gonna make the news, then I'm gonna be there, and that's kind of what I have a fun job now. Like this is fun. Like if it's like just before we're getting ready to do this podcast, I got a phone call about a possible school bus wreck, and I was like, sweet, I'll be there in just a minute, and ended up that no one was. It wasn't what they thought was gonna be MCI, and our director's off today and things like that. And I was like, yeah, cool, I'll run out there. I'll take EMS operations command. Let's do it. But yeah, so I get to do the fun stuff now, and I'm either teaching, sending emails, or running some cool calls, and that's kind of my EMS job now. But yeah, what Sean's talking about is I had I always tell my EMT students this, that there is no Scene Safe BSI dance in real life. Like we always do it like in class, I call it Scene Safe BSI, and we get on a scene, we don't do that. And every time I've been in a bad situation, there was always little things that popped up saying, "Oh, the scene's not safe," and I just ignored them. So it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. Get his supposed to be an unconscious diabetic. I walk up and I see the blinds in the back bedroom splat against the window, and I was like, "Huh, that's kind of weird. I just thought this guy was unconscious." So 4 o'clock in the morning, I just had a Starbucks. I just keep rolling through the front door. I'm all hyped up, and I had like the EMS backpack on, like to make sure like a big turtle. And around the corner, and this guy spears me to the ground. And so now I'm on my back with this big EMS backpack on, and this guy's beating the crap out of me. He's pouring sweat, and it was a fun fight. And so I got on my radio and said, told dispatch I need some more hands, and that was exactly what I said. I need some more hands. And so they start dispatching another ambulance. They dispatched another supervisor. And a few minutes later, I was like, dispatch, we were actively fighting. I need some help. And so this medic who was prior military hit the front door, and she picked the guy up and like slung him against the wall and got him off of me. And I was like, sweet. But the guy ended up getting stitches and felt really bad about the fight. And I was like, no, you're fine. Like, I'm glad you're fine. I'm okay. No worries. Don't sue me because I cut your face open. But so that's what, that's a fun one for me. Like I always enjoy, like, I don't want to think about the bad calls I run. Those suck. Like I don't want to think about the bad stuff, which is kind of like when I started my YouTube channel, that was an outreach for me because I would going through some bad stuff and my head was not clear and was not right. So starting YouTube for me was a way out of it and kind of do something different because I was like any other EMS person. I was working multiple jobs, trying to make ends meet. And I was like, man, I just need something to de-stress. So starting YouTube, and that was my way of de-stressing.
Yeah, Sam, let's talk about that aspect, like the mental aspect for you as an individual and for just the people that kind of do the things that you do. How do you cope? How do you deal with it?
I think everybody everybody is susceptible to some kind of emotional distress. I think no matter what you do, but in EMS especially, and I think it just comes back to having good habits. I am fortunate enough not to have anything this far in my career that's really like stuck with me in a really negative fashion. You have the things that, you'll remember for the rest of your life that make you feel sad when you think about them. I think really early on when I was a paramedic, I had a child commit suicide, and like that for me, like just the visuals are still in my head for it, not like in a flashback kind of PTSD way, but in like, I remember how I felt. I remember how that looked, how she was dressed and all of that. But, I think different people are predisposed to have issues. And I think for me, it comes out in, going on runs, having something else outside of work. Like, even though my YouTube is on medical stuff and it's like related to it, it's completely different than EMS. It's a completely different outlet, it's a completely different creative process. So, for me, that's kind of how I do it, is shut off. I don't come home and wear the Star of Life belt buckle and the Star of Life hat everywhere. I don't walk around, contrary to what you might think watching YouTube, it's not my whole identity, having something that you can back out, and it's not who you are. If EMS went away tomorrow, I'd be sad. It would be okay. So I think just not getting too deep into it is the key for me, and, being able to separate.
Yeah. Who is your YouTube channel for? Is it for only medical professionals, PAs, nurses, doctors, things like that? Or is it for civilians, or is it somewhere in between?
I'm in an identity crisis. I try to do a mix of videos. It's really easy to do videos focused on the layperson because the depth of knowledge you have to bring to the video isn't that high. For it. You start getting more complicated, and like, even though I have mastery of whatever that is or medication, like, to go and teach it on YouTube, like, you have to be spot on or you're going to get stuff wrong. I think like worst responders on Instagram just posted like the wrong dosage of a thing on the memes and just got torn apart. Small mistake, and they're getting wrecked. So on social media, I try to keep it a little bit simpler, but there are some videos I want to do in the future, especially with this critical care thing, of more focusing on, the mid-level provider, nurses, a little bit higher, because we are the only ones that do pre-hospital care. You don't have, a huge nursing contingent doing pre-hospital care. So while, that ER nurse knows emergency nursing in that ER room and they're very good at it, doing care outside of the hospital is a completely different ballgame. So hopefully bring some awareness to that.
For sure. I think it's huge. I mean, I know that lots of civilians, including myself, watch your YouTube videos, and they can gain a lot out of it. Like, even the more complicated stuff. I think there's always something that we can take from it, even if it's just to be like, God, I hope that never happens to me.
I'm going to go back and hit the subscribe button again.
Wow, you unsubscribed. That's great.
Oh yeah. Like, I do it like once a week just to mess with him, just unsubscribe and subscribe back. So
only when he's about to hit milestone.
Yeah, with Roni at the 100,000, I was like, boop, unsubscribe.
99,999. Suck it, Sam.
Yeah.
When we were on our battle for 100,000, you fired off something on Instagram, and I think I lost like 40 subscribers in the course of whatever time. I had a bunch of comments that were like, sorry, bro, I'll resubscribe once Skinny Medics hits this, but right now I've got to side with them, so I'm just going to unsubscribe to hold you back a little bit.
Wow.
That is hilarious.
Some serious white knighting going on for Skinny Medic over there.
But do not take any YouTube advice from me. Like I was texting you last week. So I had 12 videos that I needed to upload for my EMT students because I'd had them in storage for a while, and they were about National Registry stuff. I had students that were taking their exam, and I'm like, hey, I've got these great videos. I edited them years ago, but they're still great what you need. So I uploaded 12 videos all at the same time, and I did a playlist, and I lost 200 subscribers that day because there were people fussing because I uploaded too much information, too much social media posts for them, so they unsubscribed.
It's funny that happens because I saw when I logged into YouTube, I think it was maybe this morning or last night. Normally I just see a smattering of who I'm subscribed to and whatnot. But yeah, there was a bunch of videos from Skinny Medic, and I was like, what the hell is all this? I unsubscribed. So. No, just kidding. But yeah, I saw that. I was wondering what happened with that. And 200, man, that's like drastic.
Yeah. So don't take YouTube advice from me, Sam. Like, just keep doing your thing. Don't listen to me at all.
I still can't figure out, the algorithm to success. People are like, oh, how do you do it? It's like, the only thing I can come up with is like consistency as maybe advice for starting it. But, you can't win because I'll post a bunch of reviews and people are like, you're selling out. Like, you need to do more educational stuff. And then, I'll post a video about, stroke recognition or, sepsis or something. And people are like, the people that comment are like super jazzed. They're like, yeah, this is great. But it gets maybe a quarter of the views and the comments. And not that that's what it's all about, but it's, people are like, I don't want the reviews, but I don't really want this either. So, I have no idea. The internet is a weird place.
It truly is. How has COVID affected your job, your life, and just everything in between?
I was kind of in Skinny Medic's shoes for the last year. I took a education admin role within my department and was doing the tactical training officer for our special operations team and stuff. And during that, it was like I went into that role like about 6 months before COVID hit. So, I got to deal with, a lot of providers that were getting tired and, of doffing the PPE and stuff. But my role was limited. Now coming into this wave 2 that we're experiencing, out here and starting the critical care role, you know, the joke is that we're not seeing anybody that's not COVID. You know, it's all sick COVID. It's like you go on a heart attack. I've got friends that fly out in the Des Moines area, and he's like, you know, we get one that we think there's no way this is gonna be a COVID. It's, you know, somebody got smoked by a car, and they show up, they're like, smoked by a car. We did a rapid nasal. They are COVID positive. It's like, you know, so for me, you know, it's just, we're getting to this point where it's kind of exhausting. I think it's just doffing the PPE, putting the autoclaves in the rig, you know, wiping everything down, you know, not living in constant fear, but, you know, you always kind of have that in the back of your head. It's like, you know, are you going to get it? Are you going to bring it home to your family? You know, things like that. Not that it's probably going to affect us. We're, you know, young and healthy, but there's still so much we don't know, you know, what potential long-term effects there are, you know, what this is going to look like in a couple of years. You know, it's just, and the test sucks. I'm trying to get through this pandemic without getting tested. And like, I'm trying really hard, but I'm not sure it's going to happen.
I've avoided getting tested so far. I've dodged it, and I'm like, nope. You're not sticking that thing in my skull.
I have not been tested also, which is weird because I like live my life. Like I don't hesitate to go places that I want to go. I do like we're required to wear masks indoors when we go to grocery stores and stuff like that. So I do that. And the second I walk out, I take it off with an attitude and put it in my pocket. And like I haven't modified my life at all, which is almost unheard of. Like I've got family members that are like cowering inside, and it just doesn't make sense to me. Maybe I'll die of COVID. Say again.
There's a happy medium, I think. You know, I think, you know, to say like this is nothing and to say like, oh, nothing's happening, you know, I think that flies in the face of what's really going on. I mean, I just spent like a week in a COVID ICU. It's like, no, like there's definitely crap going on that has not before. But at the same time, if you're just living your life in fear constantly and, you know, you're not, you know, you're bringing about your own financial ruin, emotional ruin, like things like there's responsibility and then there's, you know, kind of blind adherence. So I think there's definitely kind of this nuanced middle ground that is largely ignored because I think we like to be polarized at this point in time in the country. So, you know, I agree.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I live. It's like hand sanitize, wash your hands, wear your mask when required by law, and just kind of live your life. And that's where most of my friends and family live. And so far, everything's been good. And I don't think it's fake by any means. Like it's real. We see it all the time. You guys see it more than most. And
and you're not going into the nursing home, giving all the grandmas hugs and stuff every day and, you know, doing all that stuff.
Well, not every day, but
on Monday afternoons.
Exactly. You know, to them, I'm a young, strapping lad.
That's funny.
Only to them. Let's be clear.
But yeah, like I have respect for it. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in the middle ground on that because like I respect it, but I'm not scared of it. But I also respect it, and you know, kind of same thing. Like I don't wear my EMS boots inside the house, but I've never wear my EMS boots inside. I always take them off because there's literally crap on them.
Mm-hmm.
I come home, drop my EMS clothes off. They wash separately. I take a shower, and just try to do the best we can. You know, wear a mask when we can't be 6 feet apart from people and stuff like that. So I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. We're gonna have to deal with it for a while, but just keep plugging along.
Yeah, Sam, if you don't mind me asking, you said you spent a bit in a ICU critical care for COVID. Can you talk about that at all? Like what was it like? What'd you see? Who'd you see? Stuff like that?
Yeah, you know, so it's part of our orientation into the flight realm. We do, you know, ICU rotations just to get more exposure to that hospital world. And, you know, one of the big parts of being a critical care paramedic right now in this country is knowing vent management for really sick COVID patients. So one of their goals was like, hey, we're getting you into one of the university ICUs that's been kind of taken over to the COVID side. You know, it's a sampling that's not exactly fair for the larger, you know, population, because obviously I was at the largest hospital in the state of Colorado. So all the sickest people converge on this place. You know, it's not representative of what's, going on and generally, but they're pretty full right now. Our ICU capacity is we're not over it yet. We still have some empty beds in the state. We're still doing okay, but it's getting full. You got, patients 2 to a room, a lot of vented patients, a lot of really sick patients. And it's a different world. So I've never seen prone patients. One of the things they're doing, they put them on a ventilator and then they'll take them and they'll flip the patient over on their front with a breathing tube on, which is just something you don't see generally. And it just helps with, alveolar recruitment and, positioning them like that. But it's eye-opening, definitely, in that realm. You get some of these people that are really sick. And it's not just all old people. That's the weird thing, is that it seems like just periodically you have these young guys that are getting sick. But for me, it was just kind of an eye-opening experience. Didn't really change my perspective on anything, like in what I felt about this virus for this time, but definitely sucks.
Yeah, for sure. What would you say is the med gear that you carry with you like all the time? The stuff that you can't live without, the stuff that you're like, if things go down, if things happen, this is what I want and need.
I look at things in not what's the most common thing you're going to see, but what's going to make the biggest difference for that person. I think that's a misconception there. So I generally carry an ankle kit, and people like ask me like, oh, is that uncomfortable? Whatever. And there's a lot of people that don't believe I do, but ankle kit, carry a tourniquet, packing gauze, some kind of pressure bandage, and then chest seals, and maybe an NPA in one of my kits that I carry. But do you need all that stuff? Probably not. For me, though, I've been in a couple situations where I haven't had stuff that I've wanted, and you kind of feel dumb. You can do stuff, but you kind of sit on your thumb waiting for somebody to arrive. And I like having the stuff there. So that for me is what I carry on me.
Yeah, I think that's probably all of us.
Yeah, I've kind of ditched the pressure bandage though. Because I feel like it's too thick, and sometimes, like even if I'm wearing my True Spec or 511 pants, I can hide it really well. But sometimes, like blue jeans, I can't hide the ankle kit as well. So I will dump the pressure bandage and just carry like a tourniquet. I can dump just have a tourniquet and combat gauze or something like that, and I can treat a lot of stuff with that. I
know you guys like the North American Rescue ankle kit or the Warrior Poet Society ankle kit. I know we're doing, and I like the Warrior Poet Society kit for like if you want to carry a lot. But I've really found a lot of utility in carrying the Dark Angel medical one, and not sponsored by them at all. I bought that myself. But that minimal elastic, and putting that around, and then like you said, I think in that kit I don't carry a pressure bandage because you don't need it. You can improvise that so easily with almost anything, or just hold direct pressure, or take your packing gauze and wrap it at the end after you've packed it, like stuff like that. I don't think you really need it.
I don't think I've seen the Dark Angel ankle kit. I'm looking now, but yeah. So Warrior Poet, it's big and it's got a ton of stuff in it. North American, I like that one, but again, big and has a ton of stuff in it, but I'm always looking for different things. So very interesting.
The Warrior Poet, like that's what I was like carrying when all the civil unrest was going around. And, it was kind of, especially at work, it was, 0 to 100 really fast on the street and stuff. So like, that's what I was starting to carry when I wanted more of an actual IFAC, like higher probability stuff. But in my daily life, like grocery store, I'm not, putting that on just because it creates a little bit of a bulge on your ankle and, just less convenient. And if it's not comfortable and it's not intuitive, I stop carrying it really quickly.
Yeah. That's everything for me. Like, oh God, I carry a gun now. Oh man, I need to carry a med kit, a flashlight, a knife. Like, yeah, stupid EDC lifestyle just so I can post on Instagram.
Are you carrying a concealed weapon, Sam? Do you have your concealed weapon permit?
Yeah, not on duty anymore. I'm no longer a law enforcement officer. So like in EMS and even in our special operations response team, we get bodyguards. But in my general daily life, I carry a firearm anywhere I go.
Did you have to get a certification for that, or?
Yes, actually, Sean, I came down and spent a day with Sean down in Colorado Springs, and we shot together, and he signed a nice little certificate for me, and had to take that to the sheriff's office and, pay whatever money they demand, wait 90 days. And that was my permit. But
So you didn't go to a real trainer?
yeah, definitely a fake trainer.
Yes.
Okay.
It's $112.50, I believe, is what our permits cost here. It's crazy.
That is crazy.
It's just the weirdest number ever.
Yeah, we were talking about you yesterday with that, and I was like, I was like, I wonder if he actually kept your certificate or he went to got a real trainer, got another certificate.
I'm just shocked that the sheriff took it. Like, I signed it Mickey Mouse. So it's the weirdest thing. Oh man. Yeah, it's I like Colorado. It's easy to get your concealed carry permit. It takes a little while. But as it should be, like any kind of training requirements, I bristle at a little bit. Only because I don't think the government should be telling us what is good and bad.
Yeah. Like I think the importance of training is definitely there. Like, the argument for me is like, should the government be involved or not? I think no in that, but at the same time, it's like, let's say the government wasn't, like in Iowa, you could take an online 3-question quiz, take that in and get your concealed carry permit, which I did, and then promptly went and got actual training in it. Yes. And I think if you're going to carry it, like, you better freaking have some training. Like, that's just a moral responsibility, I think, at that point.
I agree. And not that this is the show for me to wax poetic about it, but like even in places that have constitutional carry, a lot of the trainers that I know in those states, they haven't had their classes go down at all. Like, people, I think, generally do take that stuff seriously. Of course, there's going to be people that answer 3 questions, get their permit, and never think about it again. But in general, I think people are smart. People want to be safe, and they do the right thing, even when it's not mandated by the government. Okay, I'm done.
You feel better now?
Yes. It's like that's one of my hot button topics. Like, I have to regurgitate my stump speech every single time.
Well, I think, like you were bringing up, I think, a lot of things that are very polarized in this podcast, which I think is great. But I think all 3 of us kind of take a middle road in a lot of aspects. And I am not seeing that on YouTube right now. I'm not seeing that on any branch of social media, of being able to, take not a hard middle, but, most of us lean right or left in some way. But I think, we lose the nuance of some of these situations, and we say, this is always bad, this is always good. And, you take these extremes. I think that's so harmful.
Without question. You see, especially, so my realm is more firearms than anything else, but you see it in medical too. You'll see people finding a modicum of popularity and clicks and things when their product that they've chosen to sell is outrage. And when they see that, because outrage is super low effort, right? Like, we can all be outraged about something, and it doesn't even take that much. As long as you kind of regurgitate the party line, you can sell that outrage really quickly and become very popular very fast. It's a very low effort content creation. Like, Sam, your videos, they're fantastic. Skinny Medic, your videos are fantastic. Mine are not, but the barrier to entry for outrage is nothing. You don't have to be smart. You don't have to be right. All you have to do is, watch like Ben Shapiro or Steven Crowder or any of that just for a couple minutes, figure out what the points are that you want to make, and then they get into it. So I say to the people who are out there, like, if you're watching things and the main thing that they're trying to sell you is their outrage about a certain topic, like, stop watching them. Like, it's just, it's cancerous to everything. And it just drives me crazy because it is such low effort stuff. I'm not saying there's not smart people out there. I'm just saying that because outrage has become such a thing that people respond to and it gets the clicks, that people that aren't smart are doing it.
Yeah. But there are definitely lines in the sand. Like, there are definitely times where, like, there's, not a compromised topic or whatever it is. But yeah, emotion sells, clickbait sells. I make a conscious effort not to put clickbait up. I know Skinny Medic does. He politicized our beef, but, I don't do that. So, but with that, we, like you said, you try to make people really angry because people respond. People like me respond, they send that horrible comment, and that's the one I'm going to reply to. And now they've got one more click on that algorithm. They get one more like. so it's interesting.
Yeah.
I flew out to Colorado Springs for our beef, and you like disappeared on me. I mean, I flew all the way across the country, and you
true.
just disappeared.
It is true.
Well, Dietrich, it's a lose-lose for me, because if we fight and I win, I beat up an old man. If I lose, I got beat up by an old man.
Yep.
True story.
So like I cannot win in this situation. I'm feeling like this might be coming up to like a physical confrontation between us. Like, I feel like it's just coming there. I had to run to the mountains to get away from you last time.
It's true.
But yeah, I don't know where it's going.
I'd already decided. Like, I was like, all right, Sean, you're gonna have to referee this thing. If we fight, he's gonna referee.
Yep.
But if I start getting my butt kicked, I want you to shoot Sam.
And I was all okay. And Sam, it's not because I don't like you. It's because there was no way that was going to happen.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, it's in his name. He's the skinny medic, man.
Right. Well, he's like more of a dad bod medic now. Sam is actually the skinny medic.
I saw some modeling photo he did on Instagram the other day. That black background, kind of, chiseled face.
Yeah.
There you
like
go.
a stud.
I didn't even know Glamour Shots was still in business.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember those?
No, that's before our time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm old. They were a thing. You Google it and you will see the glory of the Glamour Shots. Yeah. So before we wrap it up, like Sam, what people get inspired by both you guys, really. For people that and actually, okay, on this podcast, I got a message from, I think, a 12-year-old British kid who listens to the podcast and loves it. And like, I noticed that he posted a video on a social media thing, and it popped up in my algorithm for whatever reason. And I watched it and I was like, you know what? This is good. This is like a 12-year-old kid, and he's doing good stuff. And like, the stuff that you guys do specifically inspires people like that. So for that next generation of medics, for the people who are just in their early 20s or even maybe their early 30s, and they're just trying to figure out, like, where is life going to take me? What advice would you give them to take them into the realm of mattering and doing medical stuff?
I think first and foremost, find a good mentor. It doesn't have to be me. It doesn't have to be Skinny Medic. Find the people, like, look at somebody and be like, I want to be like that person, and approach them and be willing to be taught by them and be mentored by them. That's, how I kind of found my way in this of, I made friends with a lot of people that were doing the things I wanted to do. And for me, that was invaluable. Everything from just advice to interview preps to, little tricks of the trade and things. And then that all important good word when you go to apply for EMT school, paramedic school, a real job. I think that goes a long way to have those people behind you. And there's, like, even now, having done this for almost 10 years, kind of being in a bigger role in EMS now, I still have those mentors. I still have those people that I'm looking up to and, trying to emulate. So for me, I think that's the biggest thing. And then I think the other thing for the really young audience, because I get those messages too of like, hey, I'm 12. I want to be a paramedic when I grow up. What can I do? I think one thing that we overlook is that everything you do shouldn't be EMS related. Like, you need to become a well-rounded human. You need to learn how to talk to people, how to, carry a conversation, learn how to interview and all of that. So, become a good human and a well-rounded human, get your mentors, and I think you're set to go.
100% agree. I had a very long career in software engineering, and people often asked, like, how did you do so well? And generally I was just like, well, it's because I'm not like an introvert and I can actually talk to people. I was never the smartest guy or the best coder or anything like that, but I also did, I could talk to people. And I think what you just said speaks to that a ton. It's being able just to talk to people and not being afraid to share your opinions and what you think is a huge thing.
Yeah. Don't show up to interviews in sweatpants. I swear, every time we hold interviews, every single freaking time, somebody shows up in sweatpants and a dip, and I love it.
Yeah, I'm like, that's exactly it. It's crazy. So, Dietrich, what do you think? What else you got?
Freaking lose my mind on that kind of stuff. I can teach a monkey to be a paramedic, but professionalism is huge, and that's what I'm very big about being professional when it comes to EMS, because you had like the Billy Bob who wears the "I fight what you fear" t-shirts and butt crack hanging out, and like he says he's a paramedic, and I'm like, that drives me nuts. I'm like, so I am very big on being professional. I like to have fun, and I will do some fun stuff, but I'm very big on being professional. When I worked the street full time, like I would iron my uniform, my boots were polished. Like when I walked in, I wanted to present that I was, a professional. So that is, what I'm very big on. Like I walked into a station last week and saw a student whose shirt was all wrinkled, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And she was like, "Oh, I'm doing ride time." I'm like, "No, no, no. Look at your shirt." She's like, "What?" It was in backseat of my car, and I was like, "It is totally wrinkled." I'm like, "You could have took 2 seconds and put that in a dryer, and you would have looked a lot better." And so I walked her in there, like, just called her paramedic instructor and said, "Hey, this student has issues," and right there in front of her. So I'm very big on being professional.
Dang.
Yeah,
There's that thing that circulates social media. It's like 7 things that require no effort or no talent or whatever. And it's like, being on time, dressing professionally. I forget what it all is, but like you said, it's huge. And in EMS in particular, you think I'm just a student, I'm just doing ride time. People remember those people you're precepting with, they remember who you are. So if you're a dialed in student, I go to bat for those students to try to get them a job when they come through, because we're not hiring in EMS. We don't have enough paramedics to be hiring for 10 years of experience. We're hiring based on personality. And do we think you're going to be a good fit? And do you have a modicum of intelligence? Not do you have 20 years of experience? So if you come in your ride times and you treat every day like an interview, you're going to be good. Like even right now doing the flight stuff and starting the clinical rotations, the same principles apply. Never sit down, never take a break. Like you can go to the bathroom, but like, don't go take a 45-minute lunch break, stay on the balls of your feet and ask tons of questions, and you're going to be fine.
It's good advice, guys. Let's see. Skinny Medic, you got any other questions for Sam?
No, I think that's it. I give him a hard time, but I'm super proud of him. Like I think he's doing good stuff on his channel, stuff like that. So I am proud of him.
Thanks,
like
Dad.
Moment. Yeah, I could say like a dad moment, but I'm like I am super happy for him. I want his channel to blow up. So
it is awesome. I think the more great medical content that we have out there, the better. And Sam, where can people subscribe to your channel?
Unsubscribe from his channel at.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say, actually. Where can people find your channel so they can do whatever they feel like and just stay up with all your content?
Yeah, so I'm on I'm on YouTube and Instagram. YouTube is just PrepMedic, search it, find it. And then the Instagram is prep_medic, because some other loser has my actual at.
That jerk.
I know.
Sucker.
No, that is awesome. All right, Sam, thank you so much for joining us. It's been awesome and a pleasure, and congrats on the success, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Find us and subscribe at civmedical.com.